Hello everyone. Today our group will talk about the impact of the global financial crisis on China's economy. Before we begin, let me introduce myself. My name is Wang Yihui and the metric number is 205050. Our speech has 6 parts. Next page. The first part is introduction. The second part is theoretical discussion. The third part is analysis and discussion. The fourth part is conclusions and recommendations. The fifth part is reference. And the last part is appendices. Next page. So let's look at the first part, introduction. Let's look at the significance of studying the financial crisis. First is the meaning. The financial crisis has had a broad and profound impact on the world economy. Instead of warning of financial crisis, it is better to let the sorting mechanism work better. Studying previous outbreaks will help us to effectively create a suitable financial crisis when it does occur. For China, the financial crisis has brought challenges as well as opportunities. The crisis has hit China's real economy hard, with far-reaching effects on import and export trade. It has affected the stock market, the labor market, foreign exchange reserves, the real estate industry, and tourism. Next page. And then let's look at the second is the impact of the global financial crisis on Chinese real estate. The emergence of the financial crisis had a direct impact on the real estate market. Failure of macroeconomic control policies in the U.S. and improper adjustment of interest rates contributed to the collapse of the subprime mortgage crisis. The financial crisis has thrown banks into crisis, and they are all looking to sell their properties. Next page, please. Okay. The third is the impact of the global financial crisis on employment in China. Let's look at the right picture. The 2008 financial crisis led to the closure of 15% of businesses in Eastern Coastal region, and more than 20 million farmers returned home employment. Some workers will appear in other regions, making inter-industry transfers. For China, when there is a financial crisis abroad, China has a good opportunity to introduce excellent foreign talent. Employment and wage cuts reduce consumer purchasing power and willingness to spend. Large number of small and medium-sized export enterprises on China's coast has closed, and wages has been cut. Consumer purchasing power affected by the macroeconomic effects of the financial crisis. Next page, please. And the third is the impact of the global financial crisis on China's export trade. When the promotion of reform and opening up, increasing export value has become an important part of China's development strategy. Increasing China's export trade has a significant impact on boosting China's economy. The onset of the financial crisis will cause foreign consumer markets to fade, reducing the volume of imports of Chinese produce and reducing China's trade surplus. Take the subprime crisis in the United States as an example. The benefits of export products continued to fall, leading to a significant. Let's look at the next part is rising macro problems. Based on the above findings, the financial crisis, the macroeconomic question we ask is the impact of national economic policies on import and export trade in the context of the financial crisis and the related factors. Okay, next is background. Let's look at the first changes in China's economy before and after the financial crisis. China's stock market divided from a 2007 high of 6,000 124 to 1,664 in October 2008. China's middle class has become increasingly affluent, with the average wealth of the Chinese middle class reaching over US 139,000 in 2050, compared to US and Japanese middle classes at US 9.7 trillion. But the Chinese government still insists on a long-term plan to rearrange its export-oriented growth model toward domestic consumption. Look at the right picture. China is making massive investments in infrastructure, such as the contribution of nearly 30,000 kilometers of new high-speed railroads. In 2018, China's economy was almost 3 times the size of 2008, with a GDP of 19 trillion yuan, 13.6 trillion. China is now the world leader in e-commerce and mobile payments, with total mobile payments in China reaching 24 trillion in 2018. Next page, please. Okay, this is my part. Next, let my partner contribute to tell the following. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Wang Zixuan. My mention number is 205259. Now let me talk about the second part of background. 2020 to 2035 China's economic development goals. First is Vision 2035. China will have nearly completed socialist modernization by 2035. Economic strength, scientific and technological strength, and overall national power will be greatly enhanced. Total economic volume and per capita income of urban and rural residents will reach new heights. China will take the lead among innovative countries to establish a strong country in the domains of culture, education, talent, sports, and health. A new mode of opening up to the outside world will emerge. Green nets for production and living will be widely established. Carbon dioxide emissions will be progressively lowered after peaking. The building of peaceful China will progress to a new level, with the national defense and the military being substantially modernized. The second is the 14th Five-Year Plan, 2020 to 2025. China's development is foundation and key to overcoming all of China's issues. It should follow a new development paradigm. Sustainable and healthy economic development will be achieved on the basis of greater improved quality and efficiency. Growth potential will be fully exploited and the average annual GDP growth will be maintained within the reasonable limits. The welfare of the people has reached a new level. We have achieved fuller and better employment. Keep the urban employment rate within 5.5%. Basically, synchronize the growth of per capita disposable income with GDP growth. The average number of years of schooling for the working population has risen to 11.3 years. Okay, let's turn to the part 2, theoretical discussion. First, we consider Solo's model. The Solo growth model is a well-known model of economic development, presented within the context of neoclassical economics. It's mostly used to describe how an increase in fixed capital affects GDP. The model implies a falling marginal rate of return on investment, which means that after a given level of output, you become less efficient. According to the model, the economic growth trajectory is steady. Only technical advancement can provide long-term growth. Next, we consider endogenous economic growth model. The endogenous economic growth model concludes that the rate of economic growth is endogenous. The force driving economic growth and determined inside the model. This model reveals the two scores by which the economy will grow in the long run: technological progress and the population growth. Endogenous growth theory is based on the new classical growth model, but it concludes that the technical innovation is a source of economic growth. The model also shows the disadvantage of labor in capitalism, the total remuneration that the working class can share if the government does not promote higher levels of technology. The next, we compare the endogenous growth model and the solo model. In the endogenous growth model, saving and investment has long-term economic growth. So we replace them with housing price and the national income. In our model, housing prices are virtual industry in terms of investment, and real estate is also equivalent to an individual's investment. In the solo model, technology is unconstant. What we call an extraneous variable, solo does not deal with the labor side of equation. After the finance crisis, the labor market with semi-smarter employment was growing, but national income was not increasing significantly. The first, we define the model truth. In general, economic growth does not affect the employment in the solo model, whereas in our study, employment is a variable. Employment, income, and housing prices indirectly affect export and import trade. We should be clear that labor productivity directly affects import and export trade.
Hello everyone, my name is Xu Zihan. My metric number is 205080. Okay, I will introduce the third part, analyze and discussion. And first one, we can see this data. And according to endogenous economic growth model, we take export trade, housing price, income, employment, and local productivity as endogenous variable. And we change the model to a quadratic linear regress model. And we can see the Y equal volume of imports and exports, LP equal labor productivity. And we can get a formula, Y equals C plus beta 1 house price plus beta 2 income plus beta 3 employment plus beta 4 labor productivity. And we run a least squares quadratic linear regression use EVOS 12. We can get this data, and we can get beta 1, beta 2, beta 3, beta 4. And we can see this model, the R squares is 0.99, close to 1. So this model is good fit. And the F statistic of 0 less than 0.05. So the four explanatory variable in population is significant for the explanatory variable, and the house price coefficient is negative. Is contrasted to the initial determination of positive correlation, and the T statistic is 0.056, greater than 0.05. So there is an initial suspicion of multicollinearity. We use various inflation factor to check for collinearity, and if the various inflation factors greater than 10, and this model is 30. And we can see the income and house price various inflation factor is greater than 10. So there is a multicollinearity between house price and income. Therefore, we need to eliminate multicollinearity and use stepwise regression to eliminate the independent variable. We can get this data, this table, and use a binary linear regression equation derived by stepwise regression with income and labor productivity. We conclude that the house price among the no independent variable in the financial crisis do not affect export and import trade, but every capital income and local productivity significantly affect export and import trade. Of previous studies. Previous studies have shown that increased import have led to increased consumption of demand from domestic companies, therefore reducing employment and wages in the domestic manufacturing industry. This has also led to lower relevant wages for low-scale workers, causing income equality to rise. And based on the analysis above, it has been found that exports and imports had also fallen in the financial crisis as incomes and productivity have fallen. This means that there is a linear relationship between export trade and local productivity and income. However, according to productivity data provided by the National Statistics Office, there is no clear relationship between export trade and the number of people employed. And if the number of jobs increases, but the scale and competence do not, this does not help our economic to grow. And the last part is conclusion and recommendations. Conclusion. The impact of financial crisis on China is examined in terms of real estate, employment, national income, and import-export trade. Using the endogenous growth model and the solo model, it is demanded that the location of our study is use export trade growth as endogenous variable. Therefore, using the modified endogenous growth model as our intake formula, we conclude that national income and local productivity have a significant effect on export and import trade, and that there is no particular significant effect between employment and export trade. Recommendation, and with no real change in comparative advantage and other advantages yet to be created. Local costs are still a major factor in China's competition in international trade. Therefore, in the future development process, to take a large market share in an increasingly competitive import and export market. To maintain the local cost advantage, it is not necessary to retract the wage growth of workers, but rather to keep wages from rising faster than local productivity. The focus must be on increased productivity growth, thereby fundamentally increasing the local cost advantage. Use the export tariff will increase the velocity of money circulation and increase the gross national product. It will also encourage enterprise to upgrade their own production structure, thereby reducing the number of workers and improve the quality of labor. This will contribute significantly to higher labor productivity, improve the level of existing industries, and train their skills and techniques of existing workers. Only by improving the quality of labor force can local productivity continue to grow. Products retain their competitive advantage in an increasingly competitive market environment, making them more value for money. This is our reference. And this is our independence. Okay, that's all. Thank you for watching. Thank you.